Okay, in our society, a social epidemic of gender stereotypes. We don't see it. A lot of women are free to express themselves more than men are in our society, and I feel like even women sometimes they're viewed as dykes. If a you know if a woman is to have short hair, she's a dyke. If a man is a metrosexual, people use words like beta man, beta boy, and alpha male. Those are harmful terms. Harmful terms like beta boy and alpha male, dyke, words like that. What we need to, during the 1980s, there was a trend toward the sensitive man, the liberated woman because of feminism. And to be a feminist, you don't have to be a homosexual to be a feminist. The sensitive man, they had shows like Who's the Boss and Growing Pains. Growing Pains, the father was a psychiatrist and he stayed home and took care of the kids, and the woman went to work. And Who's the Boss, Tony Danza, he stayed home. He was a housekeeper that lived with the family. He was a male housekeeper. Mr. Belvedere was also a nanny, like a male housekeeper. Three different shows about men who stayed home. Mr. Belvedere was an old British guy, and he was a housekeeper for the family. Mr. Belvedere that I watched growing up. And there's a movie called Mr. Mom. So some of you young people are too young to remember any of this, because this all took place in the 19. Michael Keaton was in that movie, Mr. Mom. The woman was a high-powered executive or whatever, and she went off on a business trip, and the husband stayed home to take care of the kids. I mean, it's just a stereotype. In the 1980s, they had a trend toward pink for men in the 80s. Pink shirts for men. And I had a sweater when I was 14 years old. My mom bought it for me. Christmas 1988. It was a peach sweater. It was a peach sweater. My mom bought it for me when I was 14 for Christmas. And I had it, and the kids at school said it was pink, but it was peach. And today's standards, it would be considered a girl sweater. I think a lot of the problem is, men are liberated to wear dresses or wear pink or whatever, but you're a homosexual. You're automatically a homosexual if you wear pink if you're a man. People today, with the rise of gay rights and gay freedom, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being gay, but people assume you're gay. So all of the straight men have gone back macho. Yes, I'm just going to do this quick thing real fast. It's the stereotype. All the straight men have gone ultra macho. The men have gone ultra macho that are straight, because it's scared them away from the sensitive man. The macho men are scared away from the sensitive man because they want to be macho so people won't think that they're gay. Back in the 1980s, a man could get by with wearing pink and wearing sweaters and listening to Phil Collins, because there are not that many men that would come out of the closet as homosexual. If people call you a fag, they're teasing you and giving you a hard time. They don't really think you're gay, They would just tease you and call you a fag, because you're not a homosexual. You're just a guy, that's maybe a wuss or whatever, but you're not a homosexual. You see what I'm saying? So that's the whole point is, women like Meg Ryan had short hair in the 80s. There was, in that movie Ghost, there was Demi Moore that had short boy cut hair. You can have short boy cut hair, and girls can have short hair. They can have a butch look. They can wear blazers, like a man's sport coat blazer. A trend toward women wearing man's sport blazers with a shoulder pads in their blazers for women. Shoulder pads in their blazers, women wearing blazers with shoulder pads in them, and power suits. A woman with slacks on and high heels and a blazer with square shoulders on it. Men wearing pink. You could have a linen sport coat. When I went to a dance in the 8th grade, 1988, I wore a pink shirt, but I wore a white linen. It was a white linen sport coat, is what it was. So a white linen sport coat. Men can be free. We need to bring back the idea of the liberated man. The liberated man, free from gender oppression, of the oppression of gender stereotypes. You don't have to worry about being called a homosexual because you're a sensitive man. If you like sweaters and listening to Phil Collins, you don't have to do that. You can be a man. You don't have to be macho. I just think, also, the man has, I mean, it's just the stereotypes, of men. I had some nice clothes when I was a kid. You know, nice clothes. I had nice clothes. And it's called a shaker knit sweater. Shaker knit sweater. It's like a loose knit sweater. Guys can wear stuff like that. But if the trend is toward gay rights and every man who wears pink is a homosexual, and I think, men's liberation. There's an epidemic in our society with transgenderism, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying that maybe some men that are people that are trans women that grow up in a very masculine, macho environment. Some boys grew up in a very macho environment. Boys grew up in a very macho environment, not allowed to express themselves or be sensitive or anything. And in order to achieve that self expression and freedom, they have to become women, They have to put a dress on. Like in that movie, Tootsie, where, what's his name again? Um, Whatever his name is in that movie, Tootsie, Dustin Hoffman. He learned a lot when he assumed the role of a woman and put a dress on. But it's like you can do that without wearing a dress. You just can learn to learn things, and you don't have to, people, that's the thing. They grew up in a macho environment. They don't feel like they can express themselves as men. They can't be sensitive and be liberated from the gender stereotypes. They have to be women, and put a dress on to be free to express themselves. And they say, I like to play with dolls when I was a little kid. That makes me a girl because I'm transgender. I like to play with girls when I was a little kid. That makes me transgender. I mean, no, that's a gender stereotype. If you identify as female when you were a child, you were transgender. But if you just like to play with dolls and hang out with girls as a little boy, you can't count that as an excuse for being transgender. Because, that's not what it is. People just, we talk about women's liberation and feminism, but there's a male equivalent, and feminism is being freed from the oppression of gender stereotypes of what a woman should be, held up to a standard stereotype of how a woman should act, like June Cleaver was a woman, being liberated from those standards, And with the modern society today, a lot of modern society, the men have just gone back ultra macho, They talk about stuff like that, but I think that, feminism is liberation from the gender stereotypes, and there's one called masculine, feminist, masculinist. Masculinist is a male version of feminist. Masculinist are people who believe in freedom for men. What is women's rights? Women's rights is the rights of women to do whatever a man does, to be liberated from gender stereotypes. The gender stereotypes. The men that are masculinist, they want to be free from the oppression of gender stereotypes, and being told they're fat, they're beta boys because they like to cook supper and watch tearjerker movies. It's just it's the oppression of a gender stereotype, and we need to break those gender stereotypes. And if you're transgender, good for you. We just need to remember there's a place for you in the 1980s culture. Listening to Duran Duran and wearing pink sweaters, listening to Duran Duran, and being a boy that's straight can have a girlfriend that can actually respect a guy for being able to cook better than her. That her boyfriend can actually cook better than her, and it's okay, that he can cook better than her, and that he wears pink sweaters and listens to Duran Duran, So, let's be liberated, let's be free. Let's not forget the trend of the sensitive man, along with your polyester and hot pink bicycle pants and way too much hairspray. Just remember the liberated man, sensitive man that was what it was for a short time in society, the modern, sensitive, Duran Duran listening man that wears sweaters, sweater wearing, loafer wearing, sensitive guys with tortoise tortoise design frame, uh, Wayfarer uh, GQ glasses with feathered hair with way too much hairspray in a man's hair. That, today we think of women wearing hairspray and too much hairspray in women's hair, but there's a tendency. There's a time when men had feathered hair, layered hair, and feathered hair, and it was just like on those two guys in that group, Hall and Oates, Daryl Hall and John Oates, and men would have hair and hairspray, and they would wear way too much hairspray in their hair, just like a girl. But a man, the liberated man, the free man, that if you're, transgender, that's fine. But before you decide to be that way and be transgender, first, just decide, can you be a sensitive man? Can you be free? Can you be liberated from the bondage, the shackles of gender stereotypes and rigid gender stereotypes? You don't have to be a macho man and have tattoos and work out and lift weights and do all this macho stuff. You can be free if you want to be. You don't have to be a transgender to be able to have freedom and to express yourself. So all you young people under 20 years old, under 25 years old, just remember there was a time when it was a trend that almost was popular, it almost took off, but men went back macho. So if you're around and your parents are around, ask your parents about the 80s. Ask them about the Pinks, Duran Duran, and the sensitive guy, and way too much hairspray on the guys' heads. So I'll catch you on the flip side. Like, share, subscribe, join the revolution. I might go live later and work on that access panel, outside access panel door on the camper. So these people are in here talking a lot of nonsense, but I'm not here for that. I'm here to talk about something serious. So I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Like, share, subscribe, join the revolution, and I'll catch you where the sun don't shine.